I'm sure a lot of y'all are like me. You're starting to notice a lot of the YouTube thumbnails and titles are 24 hours, 36 hours, 72 hours, 48 hours. You know, something major is going to happen. We get news before the regular news people get it. Guys, I've told you repeatedly, all this insider information people are getting, you got to understand, most of you do. This is for the ones who don't understand it and who just watches those videos, because those videos get 50,000, 100,000, 300,000 views, right? Constantly, because they're telling you within this amount of time something's fixing to happen and nothing does. Well, eventually you're going to be right. You know, if you keep saying this is going to happen, eventually it's going to come out that you're right. But the sad fact about it is, all this insider information, you've got to understand, anybody who is that high up in the government, right, that knows what's going on, is not going to leak information to a YouTuber. It's just not going to happen. It's not, because that's a real high security clearance, right? Are you going to risk everything to tell a YouTuber what's going on? No. The intel they get is from people that are retired, right? They'll say, well, when I was in here and this happened, this is what we did. XYZ, right? If you see this, you do this. Things have changed since they were in there, more than likely. Is the world going completely crazy and going to crap? Yes, it is. And eventually, all of it's going to collapse. It's just the way it is. But for anybody to get on here and tell you 24 hours, 36 hours, 72 hours, something major is going to happen, we know that because on the weekends something usually happens major, you know, every now and then, right on the weekends, especially in America, or an attack or something like that. The Russia-Ukraine over there, if you remember at the first of it, there wasn't a lot that went on the weekends. It was almost like they took the weekends off, right? Well, the news, they're there to scare you. The news people, anybody that watches local news, I know a lot of you is going to say, I don't watch local news, I don't do this, and you don't watch it. I understand that. We don't watch it much either. We might check the weather, and that's about it. But what they're there to pump fear in you, right? Like tonight, we're supposedly having some thunderstorms come through later tonight. Well, it started off that the severe risk was in Mississippi, right? They started screaming that last Monday or Tuesday. Well, of course, as it gets closer, they start moving it closer to us. It's because the storm is coming through us, right? I mean, eventually it's going to take the whole state under it, right? Wherever it's at. But it seems like everything we watch, news, weather, it's just all to scare us. And YouTube videos, people, I honestly think it's like a horror movie or a car crash. You know how people will slow down and look at a car crash? You know, the taboo thing to do. In horror movies, they love horror movies, right? Well, if you're on here every day telling people, tomorrow this nuke's going to fly, 48 hours from now the federal government's going to do this to us, 72 hours they're going to do. The simple fact of it is, we will not get no warning before the government does something to us or another country does something to us. You know, I've always said, if it's another country launched a nuclear weapon towards us, right, they wouldn't warn us. Number one, you know, what are you going to do? If it's coming to your area, they can get here supposedly within 30 minutes, right? The intercontinental missiles. Unless you're super close to your bug out location or your bunker or whatever you have going, there's not enough time to do that, right? A lot of us like to think, well, we'll get warnings, you know, we'll start seeing things heat up. Well, then when do you make the call to go to your bug out location, right? When do you make that call? We're not going to get any type of warnings. We're not, you know, and YouTubers are not going to come on here and have the guy pushing the nuclear button telling them when they're going to do it, right? They've learned, a lot of these channels on here have learned that, hey, I can make a lot of money off this. Number one, a lot of them will say, the headline will say 72 hours, the world's ending. But if you hurry up and order with express shipping, I can get you what you order from my store, right? To them, they sell a lot of stuff. The more fear they pump into their viewers, the more money they make. And a lot of the stuff, if you didn't watch my short video today, I'm not asking you to go watch it, but we do a series here called Prepping on the Cheap. It's yard sale finds and things like that. You know, we spent $15 on a bunch of stuff today. A bunch of stuff. We got a few things for like Christmas decorations and things, but the rest of it goes to do with prepping, plumbing stuff, all kind of stuff, right, for $15. You do not have to go out here and spend this big money to prep. Now, if you're one of these people that would rather buy the freeze-dried food, you know, pay $200 for a month's worth of, I'm sure it's more than that, it's probably a week, $200 for a week or 2 weeks worth of food, and that's all you can do, do it. That you prep how you want to prep. But you do not have to spend a lot of money to prep. The only things that's really going to cost you a lot of money is going to turn out to be solar systems and generators and things like that. We've discussed it in water filters if you're buying the expensive water filter systems. Eventually, number one, the generator's going to tear up, or you're going to run out of fuel or whatever to run that generator, right? All right. Batteries on your solar system. Within 10 to 15 years, if the world has went to crap, right, and we've been off grid for 10 or 15 to 20 years, those batteries are going to quit working. Something's going to break in your solar system, you know, back up to back up. Well, I've got this put up and this put up. Well, eventually all this electronic and fuel driven stuff is going to quit and tear up on you. You're not going to be able to get the parts to fix it, right? So you got to be able to think a little bit further ahead of what do I need to do here. You know, if there's no gas engines, there's no power or anything like that, you know. You got to think ahead on that. The only thing I recommend not buying used, of course, water filters. Number one, don't buy them used. But the main thing, unless you're mechanically inclined and can work on them, do not buy a used generator. Do not buy it because it may run right there where you bought it, right, from the person you're buying it from. I've had it for 3 years, ran it twice, it runs perfect. You bring it home, let's say a new one costs you $500, you pay $250 to $300 for a used one, all right? Then it breaks. You don't have the warranty to fall back on. You're stuck with it unless you're able to fix them. There are people out there that can work on stuff like it. But guys, all this doom and gloom on YouTube, I tell you straight, the world is in a just straight up shitty situation. It's the best way to put it. Eventually something major is going to happen. Look at all the things that could happen, right? I mean, it's getting bad out there. Prices are ridiculous. We've discussed it about groceries, but eventually something major is going to happen. I mean, you know it. If you watch this video, if you're subscribed to them, you know something's coming or you wouldn't be watching them. I can't sit here and tell you when and where and what would happen. I can't tell you that this person's going to launch a nuclear weapon. I do think if a nuclear weapon is ever used in the near future, it will be in the Middle East because we've said it before, they're extremists over there, right? They're not fighting for, you know, we're not going to get off into that because we don't want to get in trouble here on the channel on YouTube, but you understand what I'm saying. Every day, though, some of these channels, and people watch it, I mean, they're rolling in the money, right? They're selling stuff. They're getting hundreds, 200,000 views a video. Guys, I thank every one of you who watches my videos. I really do. You know, I've had people ask me, why do you still make videos? You don't get many views. I'm like, number one, I like to do it. You know, if people don't want to watch it, they don't have to watch it, right? Well, you don't do this, you don't do that. No, I do my videos how I want to. And I've asked my viewers, do you want to see this type, and I never get a response. You know, I've asked if you wanted to see canning videos, meat preservation as far as smoking and salting meat and things like that, and people never really respond to it. So, you know, let me know your thoughts on all this because it's getting, I can't even hardly watch YouTube anymore. There's a couple channels I watch, and I'll switch over and look at some of the bigger channels, and I usually can't handle no more than 2 to 3 minutes of it, and then I'm off, right? I'm like, man, if somebody's listening to this, them people's got to be sitting right on the edge of their seat just shaking all the time, right? Because they're thinking within a couple days something major is going to happen. Guys, let me know your thoughts on this. If you're in the line of these storms coming through tonight down here in the south, be safe. It may turn into a big snow event up north. So be safe, you know. Guys, keep your head on a swivel. Be aware of your surroundings at all times. Protect yourself and your family at all times. At that moment, you're the only person that can do it. Hey, go watch the short if you want to see what $15 bought. Stay safe. Keep prepping.